What's up, everybody? Today, we're going to talk about Duolingo. It's by far been the most requested stock to go over on the channel. There's been a bunch of comments asking that we look at this one. It's been a pretty wild ride for shareholders here. The stock dropped about 50% after it IPO'd. Then it was almost a 7x. And now from the peak here, we are back down to pretty much close to the price it IPO'd at. We're down more than 70% from the peak. So we're going to talk about it. As always, if you get value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want access to my Discord or you want to grab my Google Sheets template so that you can just put in a ticker symbol here, you hit load and it will make a spreadsheet like this. If you want to grab this, then check out my Patreon. Link to that will be down below. Now, let's get into it. This stock is definitely a favorite among retail investors. In fact, I couldn't find a single video on YouTube of someone who is bearish on the stock. But I'll be honest, while there's definitely things to like about this stock, there also are some red flags. Now, clearly, the stuff to like, growth, it's been incredible. Top line has more than 10x'd in about 6 years. Margins are improving. They became cash flow positive a couple years ago, even when I take into account their share-based compensation, which, by the way, is quite significant. But still, even when I adjust for that, they are cash flow positive and have been for a couple years. And not only do they have no debt, they have a massive cash position. In fact, they've just been building up this cash position over the last few years. Now the net cash is close to $1 billion. That's great. But my main concern about this company is actually the product itself. Duolingo says that their mission is to deliver the best education in the world. They're disrupting language learning, and not just language learning. The app is mostly for people who want to learn English, Spanish, some other language, but they also now have courses in math and chess and all sorts of other things. My main issue is I don't actually think the product is excellent. I don't think it's very good, and I know people are going to disagree with me on this. So again, this is just my opinion. I'll just stick with language learning because it's still the core of this business. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to learn a language, using Duolingo is a very poor way of doing that. I'm speaking as someone who has learned several languages to a reasonably decent conversational level, I think. I think people use Duolingo because it's a fun game-like experience and they enjoy it, and that's worth something. We'll come back to that. But frankly, if you've spent hundreds of hours using Duolingo trying to learn English or Spanish or whatever, you probably wasted at least 75% of your time. In fact, if any of you want to learn a language out there, I'll give you what I think is a decent roadmap right here. You want to start with Pimsleur. It is the best of these kind of courses that are intended to take someone from zero to a beginner level. If the first month or two of learning, all you do is drill Pimsleur as much time as you can, you'd be surprised at how much progress you can make. And eventually, you're going to want to graduate into trying to listen to easy content in your target language. LingQ is probably the best site for an advanced beginner or intermediate. It's this guy's site, Steve Kaufman. He has a YouTube channel, by the way, Lingo Steve. Eventually, after a couple months, you'll find that you can probably start to have basic conversations, and then you want to talk to people. Italki is an incredible resource. There's other sites that kind of do this where it's sort of one-on-one and you can talk with someone in your target language. I've used this for 4 different languages. It's excellent. I'm not affiliated or sponsored by any of these sites, by the way, but just my point is, in my opinion, you cannot really use Duolingo to learn a language. I'm not really aware of anyone who's used Duolingo as their primary tool to become conversational. In fact, if you just search Pimsleur versus Duolingo, if you read stuff on Reddit or wherever, I think there's a pretty clear consensus on what's more effective for learning. But in spite of that, I know that a lot of people out there will say, well, this is just my opinion. If you look at the numbers, the user growth has been incredible. Clearly, people like the product, so maybe I'm just wrong. And by the way, that's totally possible. I could just not get it. I might completely not understand the appeal of Duolingo, and I might totally miss out. And this could be an incredible investment, and of course, that's always a possibility. But getting back to my main worry here about the product, about the fact that I really don't feel like it delivers what they set out to deliver, which is education. To me, I see Duolingo as more of a fad, like honestly some other mobile games. I think of Duolingo a little bit like maybe Candy Crush, and I know that might sound ridiculous to some people out there. You might think Duolingo is language learning software or an educational tool, and I just fundamentally disagree. I think it's a mobile game. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Mobile games can be incredibly profitable. Candy Crush that I just mentioned made just a ton of money. But mobile games also have a tendency to be a fad. Something like Angry Birds can explode one year and be hugely profitable. And even have some staying power. Some mobile games have stayed around and have made money, have been profitable IPs for many years. I'm not saying you can't learn anything with Duolingo or something like that, but I re-downloaded the app just to make sure my opinion hadn't, really changed here before making this video. And I tested it out. I went through several lessons in Chinese and Spanish. And I really think that Duolingo is primarily a game that is based on education rather than being a first and foremost educational tool or, what they say, which is the best education in the world. Now, let's move on and look at some of the numbers. And I think a lot of the reason the stock has sold off is simply because they were an incredibly fast growth story, and now they're just a pretty fast growth story. Daily active user growth was, 50, 60%, then it dropped to 40. Now it's in the 30s. Monthly active users, this last quarter was only up 20% year over year. That was down pretty significantly from where it was in the past. And as a company like this gets bigger and bigger, it's harder to have, 40% year over year growth. It's hard to put up those crazy numbers. By the way, going through the financials here, you might see, for the last quarter, their net income was higher than their revenue. You might wonder how that's possible. They state this down here. One-time income tax benefit of over $200 million. So when you just look up Duolingo stock on something like Google, you might see that the PE says, 19, it's trading for 19 times earnings. That's not a metric that's very useful to us because most of those earnings there are from this one-time accounting event. The way I'm looking at earnings, enterprise value to operating income, they're trading for, a 50-ish times multiple. But they're still growing rather quickly and the operating margin is increasing. As they're scaling, they're becoming more profitable. So, we'd expect this multiple to come down over time. Now, a tough question to answer, but an important one if we want to value this company is, what do we think long-term margins are going to look like? They've talked on earnings calls about long-term adjusted EBITDA margins of, around 30-ish%. Charlie Munger once called adjusted EBITDA nonsense earnings, I believe. Nevertheless, we can probably use that to come up with a range of future operating margins for this business. But keep in mind, when they talk about adjusted EBITDA, their adjustment involves adding back in their stock-based compensation. And as we said earlier, stock-based compensation here is pretty high. If you don't account for stock-based compensation, this company looks like it's trading for roughly a 5% free cash flow yield, which, for a business like this that's growing as well as it is, that sounds like it could be undervalued, actually. But, when you account for all that share-based compensation, you're looking at about a 3-ish% free cash flow yield. And this isn't unusual for a young tech company to be giving out a lot of stock, but I'd like to see the number being reined in a bit. Lyft, for example, is a company we talked on this channel. They give out a ton of stock to their employees, but it's been coming down over the past few years. For Duolingo, it's only been increasing. If you look, pretty much every quarter, it's just been going up. Now we're up to $35 million in share-based compensation in the most recent quarter. So of the $80-ish million in free cash flow, about 45% of that is shares to their employees. The end result of this is if you buy equity in this company, you're getting diluted. The total shares have been expanding here, and that's not always a bad thing if the company is growing fast enough, but this is definitely something you want to keep in mind as you're valuing the business. Also, when we look at what insiders have been doing with all their shares, it's basically just been one thing. They're just selling. Now, this isn't the end of the world, and it's actually pretty common for a company where the insiders have a ton of stock options, and as those options vest, they want to cash out, they sell those shares. So you almost have always more selling among insiders than buying on the open market, but still, this is quite a bit of selling. No insider has bought shares on the open market in the last 3 years here. So let's go over to our sheet and let's put some numbers in for the future and see what we could expect for a return on our investment in Duolingo stock today. And as always, the numbers we put in, they represent a story about what we think the future of this business is. You're probably going to put in different numbers than me. That's totally fine. I may be biased, but I don't see Duolingo as the future of education. I don't think it has much of a moat. I know lots of people disagree with that, and I may be wrong, but as I said, I see this more as a profitable, very successful mobile game. And I think that the growth rates are going to continue to fall. So I have the growth rate on the top line in my base case going from 30% year over year and dropping down 25, 20, dropping down to 15% year over year 5 years from now. I still think this is a pretty optimistic view. I mean, just to put this in perspective, we've assumed that the top line is going to grow from about $1 billion now to $2.5 billion out 5 years from now. And I'm assuming their margins continue to expand and get to 20% operating margins. They're not going to be here next year, but the only thing that matters in the model here for operating margin is where it's going to end up. And in the meantime, over the next 5 years, I think there's no free cash flow that is going to come back to shareholders. In fact, I think you could argue that we should maybe put a negative number in here because we possibly could continue to be diluted as shares continue to expand. The money that goes towards buybacks, which they are buying back some shares, but it's not nearly as much as they're giving out. Nevertheless, if I just leave this at 0, and then if I give this company a 20 times multiple 5 years from now, which again, my multiple, I'm looking at enterprise value to operating income. As far as a straight PE ratio for a company like this is going to translate to more of a high 20s multiple. I don't think I can give them really much better than this in my base case. And if our assumptions come true here, you're looking at a 9% annualized return on Duolingo stock. So that's actually not too bad, and basically says that, the company today is, in my opinion, close to fairly valued if you believe in these assumptions in the base case. My bear case, I'm assuming that growth slows down more. We get down to 10% growth on the top line 5 years from now. Operating margin, I pulled back a little bit, and I only gave the company a 15 times multiple. For comparison, you can buy, Adobe, another tech company with 10% growth on the top line today for about a 15 times multiple. Perhaps I'm not being bearish enough with my assumptions that I've made in this scenario, but nevertheless, if this bear case comes true, then you're down 2% every year for 5 years on this stock. In other words, you'd be close to down 10% after 5 years. So, obviously not great, but could be worse. And as far as my bull case here, I have the top line growth pulling back to about 20% year over year, 5 years from now. This basically assumes that the top line triples to almost $3 billion in 5 years. I'm giving them 25% operating margins, which I think is consistent with a lot of very popular games, which again is the way I'm conceptualizing this company. I still don't think it's realistic that there's going to be much capital coming back to shareholders in the next 5 years, but I do actually assume that they start to net return capital to shareholders a few years from now. So this case is assuming that some buybacks will begin to outweigh the dilution that's currently happening. And I'm giving them a 30 times multiple in this scenario. I think that's incredibly optimistic. Again, the PE ratio would be higher than this, but again, it is my bull case. And in this scenario, you're looking at a 27% annualized return on this stock over 5 years. That would be more than a triple on Duolingo stock over 5 years. So all in all, I think we've definitely looked at companies that are worse than this. I don't think it's an unreasonable investment by any means, but I'm just not getting enough return in my base case for me. I understand why people like it. And again, if you have different views about this company than I do, then this could easily be a buy for you. For me, especially considering the fact that I don't really like the product, I'd have to be looking at under $100 a share probably before I'm going to be interested here. I know I'm in the minority here. I know everyone loves this stock, especially on YouTube. So I totally understand that many of you will disagree with me. You can tell me why I'm wrong down in the comments. That's totally fine. But as always, I just give you my opinion. I just tell you what I'm doing with my money. And for me, I'm not going to go out and buy Duolingo stock today. But if you got value out of the video, then subscribe to the channel. If you want to join my Discord or grab my Google Sheets template, then consider following me on Patreon. Link to that, again, will be down below. And even if you're a fan of Duolingo stock and don't like my point of view on this one, I hope to see you all again in another video.